All right, guys. So welcome to this course. This is going to be a course on JMeter performance testing. And what is the objective of this course? That we are going to gain a solid background on performance testing and terminologies. So along with that, what this course actually covers, that if you go through this entire course, you will get a basic till advanced knowledge of JMeter tool. All right. So this course include two things. One, that definitely you are going to learn about the JMeter tool in detailed manner. Along with that, you will get a solid background on performance testing and terminologies. Okay, because these two are um, related to each other. So unless you have performance testing background, I mean the knowledge on performance testing, you cannot exactly know the features and the options. um, I just got from Nitesh that voice not coming, so is it for everyone? Okay, I think Nitesh, there is some problem at your end, so do check your internet connection, because I think for others it's good. All right, guys, so so this is what the basic objective of this course is. What we are going to cover about all the concepts and terminologies about performance testing, and based on that terminologies, what are the features available in JMeter so that we can make use of those features, right? So as I told, that these two are uh, dependent, so you cannot gain most of the features knowledge without having a performance knowledge, right? Okay, so what is the pre-requirement of this course? If you are going to take this course, you should be having a uh, software testing knowledge, or you should be having a software tester, or if you are working as a developer, that's good. So because we are not going to starting from the very scratch, having each details of software testing. So it's good that if you are already working as a software tester and have some software knowledge, software testing knowledge. Okay, and what I would like that I will make this demo session more interactive. So feel free to have your question in question box, and any doubt that you have, we can just talk on those questions, right? Okay, so these are what the topics of today. What we are going to discuss in this demo session, that we will learn about performance testing, understanding the performance testing, and we will talk about that why exactly performance testing is required. So what is the problem statement that we need performance testing, um, and exactly what we do in performance testing, and few other topics to discuss, like what is JMeter and all those stuffs, right? So what are the elements available in JMeter? Okay, so with that, let's proceed. Just a minute. Okay, now you guys have control on your audio. You can just unmute yourself and have your question in between if you have any question. Okay, so let's start about understanding performance testing. So any idea on performance testing you guys have, that what exactly performance testing is, how it is different from functional testing? If you have any idea, or if you have some knowledge on this, you can just type that into chat box, or you can just talk on phone, right? Yeah, so basically it covers the non-functional aspects. Performance testing used to check the performance of application under different load and how it's behave. Yes, exactly. How it behaves on different loads, like loads, right? So wonderful. So I got an expected reply from you guys. Good. So let's understand from a different perspective. Okay. So if I talk about performance testing, so I will just talk about the problem statement. So why this performance testing came into picture. Okay. So let's talk about the problem statement. Um, Nowadays there are a lot of things and that has been shifted from offline, like we do shopping, online shopping, right? So take an example of online website like Flipkart or Amazon. So these websites handles a lot of users. So there are a lot of users that uh, come into the website, do their shoppings, searching for item, adding those items to their cart, and then proceeding for place order. Okay. Sometimes what happens, right, you if you go to the shopping website as well, you feel there is a big billion sale day is going on, or there is a sale going on, clearance sale is going on. So what happens at that point of time, you try to get your item in your cart, and unfortunately your item is not able to get into your cart, and you are not able to place the order. Okay. So what happens, like at that point of time, you feel that the website is not responding properly, and you are not able to do actions smoothly. Okay. So that that is a situation where users which are actively logged into the website, they will left the website, right? And there will be a loss of business. Okay. And if your website performance is slow, because most of the users are coming on your website and your website is not responding well, chances are that the users will not visit your website anymore. Okay. So to overcome that situation, we have a solution for that, right? And the solution is in a very high level manner is performance testing. So how can we overcome that situation, that problem statement, through performance testing? Okay. So what we do through performance testing, we simulate that kind of load on the website, and we try to find out that what exactly problem could be with that much of load. Okay. So in term of load, what exactly I am referring, that let's say that there is a website um, which I own, and that is my website, and I want to know that how much users can actively uh, log into my system and do smoothly transactions. So they can smoothly search for product, they can easily add the products to bag, and they can easily place their order. So I want to know the number of users, that how many users actively can be handled by my website. Okay. So this is one of the aspect of performance testing. So this is one of the area that we cover during performance testing. Okay. So what we do, we simulate that kind of situation, that there should be a website, basically a web app, This is one of the answer to the attendee which was asked that we are covering web app or not. So basically there should be a web app which is running on internet, and through performance testing we will find out the capacity of the active users being handled by the website. So this is one of the area. Okay, so the problem is statement that we do not know that how many users can be handled by my website, or my website is how capable to handle users. Okay, if the users are being handled, are they able to move smoothly from one page to another or not? If they are moving from search to product detail page, they have searched for a product and they are moving to product detail page, how much time it is taking. Okay, so that kind of things we cover in performance testing, right? So you got the problem statement and you got a solution of that as well, that can be done through performance testing. Okay, now I'm just draw something to you. So let's say that, okay, if I'm a user here and this is one of the website which is my target for performance testing. Okay, so I know that what my objective is. My objective is to just simulate a lot of users, different users, just send a lot of users on my website and try to find out the problems. All right, try to find out the problem, what exactly problem my website is facing. So the problem can be, are the users able to log in into my website or not? If they are login, are they able to move from one page to another page? Are they able to move from login to search page? Are they move from search to product detail page? So basically, are they able to do transactions smoothly or not? Okay, and finally, are they able to place order or not? Okay, so these kind of areas we are going to cover. So how to cover these things? Okay, for that we need basically, let's say that initially we need a 100 users, right? So 100 users means 100 customer, right? So where to get these customers? So how to simulate that? I'm sorry guys, I believe I am audible. So JMeter provides you the option to simulate these users. So you can simulate these users, you can send these users to the website, right? And as I told you that how many that are those users are able to move from one page to another page or not. So that thing can also be done through this JMeter. So JMeter provides you an option to send those users to your website, hitting any page, moving from one page to another page, like doing login, searching for product, adding that product to cart, and finally placing order. So all these things can be covered through JMeter, right? So in order to do performance testing, we need JMeter as a tool to generate, basically at a high level, to generate load, right? So we refer this thing. So we refer these 100 users as a load to my website. Okay. All right. So guys, am I audible? Is everything okay? You can just you can just talk to me as well, because I would like to have questions in between, so that we can make this session more interactive, because this is going to be a demo session. So it's not like that this is going to be a recorded video that is being played, and you are just watching. So just have your questions in between, because this is going to be a demo session, and I would like to have more questions from your side, that what exactly your expectation from these courses, and what kind of things that you want to get from this course. Okay, basically I told you that using taking this course, you will gain a solid background on performance testing and terminologies, and of course we will cover most of the things which will give you a rating of basic till advanced. So that kind of knowledge you can get from this course on JMeter tool. Okay, so I believe that I might have some question from Aman Singh. So I have already given you all guys unmute, so you can just unmute at your end and just talk to me. Aman Singh. Okay. Yeah, Aman, you can have your question.
Yeah. I have a question is that how do we, while testing, how do we decide that what number of users we have to keep in mind while testing? That
Right, right.
you said, yeah,
I got your question. That's a good question. I can say that's a great question, right? So
yeah.
initially we do not know that how efficient my website is to handle number of users, right? So
Mhm.
at a very initial phase, when we are going to do a fast performance test for my website, there are few things to keep in mind. So just a minute. So there are two things. First is that you should be having some predefined number of users, which comes from um, SLA document. Okay.
Okay.
So initially, there should be some document which is being provided from the engineering or architect team, right? Architect or engineering team, who are responsible to develop these applications and most of the things for these applications. So there should be a document which is called SLA document, in which the number of users, which is in my term going to be this number, must be defined in this SLA document. So we have to take this number from that document, or if that document is not available somehow, what we can do, we can just find out the number of users at my own are being handled by this website. So how we do that, there are different approaches to do that. What parameters we keep in mind uh, on defining my own users, that is a different story. That can be done through in a incremental manner. We can just increase the number of users. Let's say initially we started with 0 and end up 20 users, and then 40 users, then 80 users, and then we are increasing that number. So there is an approach in that way as well. But one thing that it is already defined, and another thing that we can find out that number, that how many users being handled by my website. So that numbers comes from certain criteria, that my CPU is below 75% or not. If my CPU is below 75%, the number of users are good. Or if it is not 65%, we can have more number of users. So there are some different criteria to define that number. Okay, is it the answer to your question?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right, so any other question do we have? Yeah, Nikhil, if you have any question. All right, guys. Okay. So moving back to my this point. All right. So we got the problem statement, and what we do in performance testing. Basically, if you got the idea, we are doing few things in performance testing, like um, we are just sending load to website, right? Using this approach, using JMeter, what we are doing, we are sending load to my website. We are looking at the performance of this website. Okay, so what exactly we are looking for? So these are there are few terminologies that you need to understand in order to evaluate the performance of a website, like handled users, right? Response time. Okay, handled users, response time, and number of requests to the website. And initially there are few more basic things, like um, how many number of requests, what are the um data sent and received per second, and few other things. So these are the things we do through performance testing. Basically, we find out that my website is, how capable my website is, and how many number of users can be handled by my website. And during the handling of that number of users, what was the response time of my website? So what exactly this response time is, that when handling, let's say example, for when handling 100 users, what was the response time of my search page? So I believe that this might be a bit difficult to you understanding the response time. So if it is, here is a quick thing on response time. What response time is: when we load any page, there are some time taken by that page. So in order to get that page completely, there are some time taken. Basically, if you go on any website, hit any page, that page loads and then gets completed. So the time you hit that page and the moment it got completed, so the time, total time in between, is the exactly response time. So it might be 1 second, 2 second, 3 second kind of thing, right? So we find out the response time of the pages while handling 100 users. What was the response time of search page? Basically, when 100 active users were now using my website, how fast my response of search page was. There is another thing, which is request to the website, that how many total requests these 100 users are generating to the website. Okay, so these are few terminologies that we will get into more detail in coming sessions. And yes, so these one of the parameter also. Sorry, I have some audio. So guys, all right. So just muted all. Okay, so this also matters, that how much data we are sending and how much data we are receiving from the website. So the performance of website also depend upon this parameter as well. So these are the basic things that we do through performance testing. So how these things come to me? So how can we get these things at my end? So getting these things as a number, JMeter helps me out in this. Okay, so JMeter helps me, doing performance testing and finding out the problem statement. And what we do in performance testing can be done through using JMeter. Okay, so let's quickly jump to the JMeter. And before that, I believe that there is a topic that how performance testing is different from functional testing. So I think you guys have answer on this. If anyone have answer, just you can talk to me or post that answer into chat box. So basically what we do in functional testing, we validate the functionality, right? So what exactly we are doing in performance testing? Are not we validating the functionality of the application? And one more thing, that we say performance testing. So performance testing is a part of non-functional testing. All right, so non-functional testing is a domain, and performance testing is one of that. So it's a non-functional testing. All right, so what this non-functional testing is, and if it is non-functional, then what is functional? Anyone want to answer on this? All right, so I'm giving you the answer. So what we do in functional testing, so there is a functionality, say add to bag. Okay, meanwhile I have some answer. I think functional testing is the is the app should behave as it is expected as per requirement. Okay, I think it's a good thing. I got a good answer as well. And what about performance testing? So are we not expecting the functional aspect? Are we not expecting that my application should behave? Um, so we are not validating that behavior in performance testing. All right. So that will come under non-functional requirement. Okay, so let me give you a quick example on this. Let's say that there is a functionality add to bag. Okay, so what this functionality is, so this functionality has a defined function that if I'm on a website and there is an item, okay, and once I click on that item, so not exactly on that item, but there should be a button which is belonging to that item, add to bag. Okay, so for that item, if I just click on add to bag button, what is my expected behavior? The application behavior should be that item will get added into my cart, right? Okay, so this is the functionality that must my application should be performing. Let me switch to my paint. Okay, so just a minute. Okay, so what I'm saying that there is a button which is add to bag button, and this is my cart. So once I hit this button, so the item should get into my bag. So this is one of the functionality that must work for add to bag functionality. Okay, so that must work, that if I add to bag button of any product, that product get added into my cart. But there are a few other things apart from this. When I click add to bag, when I click add to bag of my product is getting into my bag, but how much time it is taking? If you are validating the functionality, you are not bothered about that thing. If it is getting in 1 second, fine. If it is getting in 2 seconds, that's fine to you. Even if it is getting in 5 seconds, once you click add to bag, that item has been added into bag, but it took 5 seconds. That's fine to you. That's nothing your problem, right? Because you are just validating the functionality that my item is getting added into my bag or not. But you are not validating other parameters, right? You are not validating the responsiveness, right? That how much time this action is taking. Okay, so the first one is the functional aspect, that your item is getting added, and the second one is non-functional aspect, this one. So this is non-functional aspect. Okay, because this is beyond functionality, and this thing we validate through performance testing, that when I add a item to my cart, how much time it is taking. And that's the reason we categorize performance testing under non-functional testing. Okay, moving forward. All right, so now let's jump to JMeter, and I believe that most of you guys are having JMeter and running in your system. If you do not have JMeter, there are it's so simple to install and let your JMeter run.
So,
There are few requirements. Do I have
Rahul,
any question?
yeah, one question, Rahul. Ranjit this side.
Sorry, what is that?
Ranjit here. So, Rahul, just now you given one example. He add one in
Item to
card
cart. Right, right.
item. So that one, how we can do thousands items you want to add in the card? That is a performance. So how I can do the thousands items I can add in that card?
So that is a different situation. So how that 1,000 item you want to add in your cart? Okay, so there can be two possibility, right? One is that just a minute. That thing can be done, but that totally depends upon your use case, that how you are doing, right? One is that you are having a user, and that user has few products that you want to add, right, in their cart. So this is his cart. this user want to add this product into cart. So how quickly it can add, right? Basically it will take if it take 1 second time, right? So in order to add this 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 products, it will take at least 8 seconds of time for this user, right?
Yeah.
And basically for one user now we can add item to cart, one cart per second, one item per second, because if the response time of adding to cart is 1 second, one user can obviously add one product into cart in a second. So I'm able to use add one item per second into my cart. Okay, if this is my cart. So if I have this situation, cannot I just replicate or just simulate these kind of 1,000 users,
Yeah, 1,000 users and each user 100 cards, for example.
and each users will be adding one cart per second, one item into cart per second. So that will give me a just a simulation of adding 1,000 items into cart per second.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
So in this way you can design your a test plan, you can design your script, and you can achieve whatever you want. So how to do these things, right? How to just
Yeah.
record the script and just play these users to achieve these 1,000 items per second adding into cart. That's a different thing that comes under the expertise on JMeter that we will learn.
Okay.
Rahul, can I ask one more question?
Yeah, definitely, you can ask
Okay,
many
so
questions.
in this example, uh, adding a one item, that is my requirement as a customer, that is my requirement. But
Right,
doing the non-functional testings or maybe performance, uh, that is my expectation.
right.
Is it correct?
Okay, so basically there are some problem statement you might thinking of. Okay,
Hmm.
so one can be the requirement and one can be just expectation. So why we are getting into that situation? Because we might be afraid of having that situation, that what happens if a user just going to add one item and there are 1,000 users that are going to add 1,000 items into cart in a second. So this can be a future problem, or this can be a problem statement which might get into trouble, which might be trouble for us. So to overcome this situation, we simulate this kind of behavior, and we see that what exactly going to be happen if this is happening in production.
Okay.
Is it that thing you is it was your question, or is there something else?
No, I got your point. That means to test a requirement, it's a functional testing, and to test expectation, or maybe using that kind of the number of people or maybe number of items, that kind, it is related to performance testing.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, correct.
Because in functional we are not going to simulate that kind of thing, because if I'm going to validate the functionality and it is working for a single user, any
Hmm.
user, that must be working for another user as well. There should not be any problem.
Okay, yeah,
the
no, I
problem
got
can
you.
the problem can only arise if there are multiple users doing that activity at a same point of time. So at that point of time, am I able to do that functionality properly or not? That can only be a problem. So the simple
Hmm.
funda, the simple thing any performance is, if I make my application into under load or under stress situation, then I can only get the actual performance of my application. And this applies to anything, even to us as well. we can simply solve any questions in normal situation, but that question can be a problem for us into at the exam time, because at that point of time we are under load, under stress, so we might not able to solve that question which we have earlier solved into relaxed situation.
No, it's got it.
So,
I got your point.
all right, so we just simulate large number of requests and large number of users in order to validate the actual behavior during the load and during the stress situation.
Yeah, clear.
Okay, so sorry. So let's just run the JMeter, that how quickly we can just let JMeter up and running. So there are two things only. I think most of you people are already running JMeter and using basic functionality about JMeter. But for those, if any one of you have not running JMeter, so what you simple need, you need JMeter to be downloaded. You can freely download it from official website, and in order to run it you need Java in your system, and this is quite simple, I would say, and this must be in your system, because this is required for most of the application in your system for Eclipse or any other setup. So I believe that Java is also set up in your system. If it is not, you can just refer any other videos how to set up Java and how to install Java. Basically, the important thing is to set up the environment variable only on Windows machine, and if you're going to do that on Linux, the path is the only major thing. Okay. So if any one of you having trouble setting up Java in Linux machine as well, I can help you out in that situation. But for now, I'm not going into this detail that how to set up Java in your system. I believe that there is already Java set up in your system, and upon querying in CMD Java hyphen version, you should be okay. I think oh, so Java is there. So what is it not hyphen?
I think the version spelling is wrong. No, on the last one.
Okay. I think Java hyphen version, right? Okay, so you can check about Java that it is the path is correct in your system or not, or simply just add a path in your environment variable. So I believe that Java is already set up in your system, and about downloading JMeter, you can simply get into Google and say download JMeter, right? So download whatever the latest version available. So I would say that if you are on a it doesn't matter on Windows or Linux machine, just go for binaries and go for zip on Windows, and we can go for TZZ as well. But this is basically for Linux machines. Or you can use zip on Linux as well. That is not a problem at all. So you can download this one on Windows machine. Once you download, just extract that. And I have extracted that in my JMeter folder. So this is what the version that I have set up in my machine, but I think latest one is 5.3. Okay, so we will continue with 5.3, but for now I have 5.1. So launching and the most of the things is not much different in 5.1 and 5.3. So once you extract that, get into the bin folder inside Apache JMeter 5.3 something, and inside bin you should be having jmeter.bat. Okay, so make sure that this is a Windows batch file, might be the bat extension may missing on your system if you have extension hidden, file extension hidden. So just double click on jmeter.bat and it will look for Java, and it will give you a user interface. Okay, so simple user interface. Okay, for Mac also same. Yes, so to be more frank, I have not worked well on Mac machines, but I have expertise, kind of knowledge in Linux machine, and I know that most of the things on terminal work same for Mac and Linux. So if you stuck somewhere on Mac machine as well, I can get out of that situation, because I know that how exactly to set up Java on Linux machine. So for setting Java in Linux machine, you can directly get that from package manager, or you can simply get a zip zz file or any archive file and put that on your machine at any path, and only you need to set the path variable pointing to that folder. Okay, so I can help you guys setting up Java on Mac on and on Linux machine as well. Okay, all right, so here we have JMeter. So simple and nothing fancy, nothing has given to you as a welcome, no such initial basic test plan and nothing else. So once the very beginning I saw this JMeter UI, I was just wondering what exactly it is. There is nothing to do, right? If you do something, play and all these stuff, so you should have test plan. And so if you look at the JMeter initially, it will give you a very basic UI and nothing added. And you can say that this is one of the simplicity of JMeter. It will not give you a kind of blot things that are already preloaded, and you just go to remove unnecessary things kind of thing. So rather than providing that, it is providing you a simple UI interface, and you add the things you only need. Okay, so it gives you a simple test plan that has nothing. So you need to know that what exactly you require in order to proceed for your performance test. Okay, all right, so as we discussed that in order to do performance test, we need JMeter. Okay, and JMeter can help me out simulating these users load. Okay, and once we simulate this user load, we can get few details like what is the number of users, what is the response time, what is the request to the website, what are the sent requests to the website, and few other details, right? So we will follow this, and we will try to build our first we will go for a overview of the UI, and then we will try to build this kind of test plan, so that we got some understanding that how we can achieve these kind of things in JMeter. Okay, so let's come into this. Basically, in order to start using JMeter, first thing that you need to add is the thread group. So just go to your test plan, right click on it, add thread user thread group. Okay, and I would say that there are a lot of things like config elements, listeners, timers, preprocessor, post-processor, assertions, non-test, test fragment, non-test elements, and a few other things as well. But um, there is a thread group. Inside thread group, we have different other thread groups available. All right, we have a config element, HTTP header manager, cookie, cache, TCP config, and a lot of stuff. So we will see all these all these things, preprocessor, inside preprocessor, all these things, and inside thread group, all these thread group as element. So in term of JMeter, all these things are referred as elements. Okay, so thread group is a element, arrival thread group is another element. Okay, inside config element, HTTP cookie manager is an element. So anything that we have inside JMeter, we refer that as an element. Okay, so adding right click, getting into thread group, what I say that I have added a thread group element. Okay, I have added a thread group, and what it is an element. Okay, in terms of JMeter, everything is an element. So I have added a thread group. So what thread group is, as I told you that I need 100 users. So thread group provides you the number of users. Okay, so I can define my number of users here. So it's up to you. You can add simply as much of 0 as you want, but make sure you do not break your application. Okay, so this is going to be number of thread. How easy it is, just adding 0 and you can end up generating that much of user. All right, I'm not going to generate 100 users, but yes, you can. So in my example, I was able to generate 100 users. So this is one of the element which is called thread group, can generate number of users. Okay, so I can generate 100 number of users, and what all these things are like ramp up, loop count, fiber, delay thread creation, until needed scheduler, and inside scheduler there are duration, startup delay. So these are terminologies, because initially I told you that unless you know the performance terminologies, you cannot fully understand any tool, either it is JMeter or NeoLoad or WebLoad or Load Runner or any other tool. Okay, so all performance tool which are available in market works on these basic concepts. So performance testing concepts and terminologies. So all other tools, any tool in market fully um, uh, comes under the concept of performance terminologies. So once you know the ramp up, what exactly ramp up in performance, you might be able to use now JMeter or WebLoad or any other tool, scenario design. You can design your scenario. You can get a reference that what exactly ramp up is. All right, so this is a thread group, which is one of the first element and the very first element that we need to add inside my test plan in order to create a script. Okay, I would like to have a question for you guys. What exactly script is in term of performance or in term of any testing? What exactly script is, what we refer as a script? Do we have any answer?
Might be list of command or maybe action.
Yes, exactly. So command and actions, yes. So script contains some predefined steps which is specific to. So if I say that it is a script, so if it is a Java script, right, basically this can be passed through JavaScript engine. If it is a another language script, so that must be specific to that language. Make sense? If I say that it is a Selenium script, so that must be used by Selenium. If I say it is a it is a JMeter script, it must be used by JMeter tool. So a script can be a predefined set of instructions and command which is specific to some specific parser which is able to parse this script. Okay, And if I say that I have a JMeter script, I cannot use that JMeter script inside other parser like load runner kind of thing directly. Okay, or I cannot just use JMeter script directly in Selenium or in Neoload or any other tool. Okay, so if I say that I have a JMeter script, it would be specific to my JMeter. So what exactly JMeter script can contain? So the things which are available in JMeter. So in JMeter, we have a thread group. We have sampler. So for now, just let me add a sampler. Just accept that there is an element which is called HTTP request, which comes under sampler. Okay, and I can simply save it. I can say that this is my test plan, and this is inside this I have thread group and HTTP request, and I can simply save it. I can HTTP request. I can save it on a desktop. Dummy. Is it 31st today? Okay, 31st. Right. So I have saved this script, and this is what I have. A dummy May 31st.jmx. So this is a JMX file, which is a JMeter script. Okay, this is the script, and what this script might contain. This contains some commands and some elements which is specific to JMeter only, and in actual it contains a thread group and a HTTP request. Okay, so when we say that we are going to run performance test, we must be having a script. Okay, and that script must contain the steps and the commands that we want to perform against any application or against any website. Okay, so a script might contain, and actually in term of JMeter, it must contain a thread group. Okay, and few other elements like sampler. I'm just having some other elements just for example for now, like listeners. Okay, so a script might contain these kind of elements. Okay, and throughout this course we are going to get expertise on creating this script. How can we create a script to do a performance test and to achieve these kind of purpose, like our users are going hit my website, and I would be able to measure these terminologies. Okay, so we will get expertise on a script part as well. So what exactly I was saying, that inside JMeter we have few things which are available. There are a lot of things available, and including from those things we add few elements, and we just refer those elements as a bundle inside a script. Okay, so this is what a JMeter script is. Okay, and what can be a flow in term of JMeter? The flow in term of Selenium as well, right? A flow can be that if I have a place order flow, if I have to have a place order flow, at the minimum required steps I would need just to log in into your system, just to search for a product, and just to add that product to bag, and just check out, and just put your payment detail and place order. So these are the predefined steps which we refer as a flow. And a flow can be a different type of flow, like if there is an account section flow, that should be having some different set of steps. Okay, so a script contains a predefined flow, and inside that flow there are different elements come into picture. There are thread groups to be there, there are some HTTP, there are some listeners, there are some samplers to be there. So this is one of the sampler part. I have added that HTTP request inside sampler, And there is one important thing, which is listener. So this helps me, getting out these results: handled users, response time, and request and data sent, and all these matrices. So we can get all these matrices using listener. All right. Now just relate the things that we have learned so far. I was saying that I was having 100 number of users which are hitting my website. Oh, sorry. So these users are hitting my website. So we have 100 number of users which I am able to generate using JMeter through thread group. This is one of the thread group where I am able to generate 100 number of users. I'm hitting here search page, login page, search page, add product page. Okay, so these users should be adding, should be having these activities. So user should be logging into the system by providing username and password, searching for a product and adding that product and placing order. So these users should be doing these activities. So how these activities can be achieved? This we achieve through sampler. This is the exactly sampler that I'm referring. Let's say that I have a website which is something www.example.com, and what I am instructing, if I have a one user for now, let's say, let's design it for one user. So there is a one user which is going to hit www.example.com/index dot, let's let it the root path. So it is going to hit the launch page on the first page of my website. Again, I want the same user to hit the search page. So what I can do, I can add another sampler which is going to be HTTP request, and just saying that go to the same website and hit /search.jsp. Okay, so this will search, this will hit my search page, and again I can add different pages as well, right? So this is how we achieve through sampler, and sampler comes under, once you right click on thread group, and inside sampler there are different sampler. Now JMeter is capable of doing another performance testing apart from HTTP protocol. Okay, so we know that most of the website running on internet works on HTTP protocol, but there are something beyond, okay, which JMeter can do. Let's say that I have a database. DB testing. So for that, I do have a performance test for my database. Okay, so that can also be done through JMeter. And one thing I forgot to just show you, and I believe that you guys already have access to this course content. So this is the course content which is available on Way to Automation website, that you can go through, that what exactly the things that we are going to cover throughout this session. This is I think this is quite enough things here to cover, and inside that you will get some DB testing. Do we have that? Yeah, so you will get DB testing as well. You will know basic concepts, and you will know how to build JDBC test plan, running test and reading reports. So you can directly test your database as well. You can query your database and look at the performance of the of your database, how quickly you are getting the queries when there are the similar kind of 100 queries, 1,000 queries are running. So that can also be achieved. So what exactly sampler provide that facility. So there is a JDBC sampler where I have that. Yes, so there is a JDBC request. So using this JDBC request, you can test out your database as well. That we are going to cover. Okay, so the basic idea now discussing about this JDBC, that using sampler you can hit different kind of application. Okay, so there are a lot of samplers as well. There are different samplers available, and once we hit these in our request, once we hit these pages, we need to know about the response time of the pages. That is captured through listeners. So we have listeners here. There are view results, tree summary, and there are different type of listeners, but the major the major functionality of the listeners are to collect the results. Okay, so that we can know that what exactly response time of my application is, how many number of users are currently running, how many hits we are making to the application, what is the data that we are sending, what is the data we are receiving, is there any error that we got 4xx 5xx or some different kind of error, right? So those kind of matrices we get from listeners. So inside listeners we have variety of listeners to get capture those data. Okay, all right, so I have added these two requests and one JDBC request. Right click on these requests and you will get a lot of options. One of the important thing I found about JMeter is quite UI oriented and quite easy to use. You will not require such uh, programming knowledge and a lot of different things in order to use JMeter. Being UI oriented, it is quite easy to use. You have these options as well. If you do not want this to be included in your test plan, let it be there. You can disable it. So this will be in no more action. Again, you have copy paste kind of things. Even you can drag drop these things as well. Okay, so this makes JMeter a lot of easier to use, and that gives us the ability to design your complex test plan in much easier way and in much less time. Okay, now so for now, do I have any question, any kind of question related to JMeter performance and any other question? So there is a question that any programming language need to know to work with Java. To be frank, you for basic, or you can say for intermediate level, you do not need any programming language. But I think that most of you guys are already working on testing background, so you should be having Java knowledge. Okay, the good thing about JMeter is that if you have Java knowledge, basic Java, JavaScript, or Groovy, or Bin Shell. So basically these are the scripting language that has some different interpreter. But yes, there are a few other languages as well. So if you have knowledge on any of these, basic Java, JavaScript, Groovy, Bin Shell, you can take a lot of benefit of JMeter, because there are Bin Shell and JSR 2 to 3 elements. Through this we can make use of any of these languages. So to be expertise in JMeter, if you have Java basic, you can take a lot of advantages at advanced level. But for intermediate and basic kind of things, you need not such language knowledge. And talking about this Java basic, So taking the advantages at a expertise level in JMeter, you only need basic knowledge as well to become expert in JMeter. You need not to be a kind of developer things, right? Or developer kind of knowledge. If you have basic knowledge on Java, just operators and variable kind of things, looping and all those, you can take a lot of advantages and you can reach the pro level of JMeter. Okay, so what I was saying, that I was making you just going through these the available options in JMeter and UI kind of thing. So let me simply just disable it as well. And one thing that it is quite handy, I can rename it to any page that I'm going to hit for now. Let's say that I'm going to hit simply google.com. So what I can do, I can set my protocol. Basically, I know that the Google works on HTTPS, and in place of www.example.com, I can set google.com. All right. Okay. And the view results tree is here as well. So what I have done, I have added a thread group, which is for one user and one ramp up and one loop count. I think I have a question, just a minute. Can we capture result or screenshot of error? Definitely we can capture result of error, but I think screenshot till now I did not require any screenshot capturing kind of thing, but on requirement I think that can be achieved as well. But having error in detail would be quite enough to get the exactly problem at that point of time. Okay, so you can capture result definitely on error. So if you have view results tree, so there are a lot of options to cover yet, and there are a lot of things inside each element. So there is an option on error as well. You want this view results tree to be active on error only, you can check on error only. Otherwise you will be getting all the details through this. Okay, so what I'm going to demonstrate you a simple hitting google.com using one thread and running for one loop count only. Do ensure that first thing, one important thing I would like to discuss about performance testing, that here hitting having google.com here and having just a simply type here, you can just end up hitting 100 users to Google, okay, which is not quite good and which is not quite legal as well. Okay, so it's not an arbitrary number that you can put here and you can just hit Google with 100 requests. You are only eligible to do that on your own website. For that you are authorized to do performance testing, and for the website you are authorized to end up with 100 or 1,000 user or any number of user. Okay, it is not legal, though there are some mechanism behind the website that will not allow you to do that 100 user or for 1,000 user for a longer period of time, but this is not recommended at all to just hitting any arbitrary number or on any website that you do not own. So do this thing in your mind. So for demonstration, I'm just going to hit google.com for one user and I will see that what exactly I'm getting in response. So what is going to be happen right now when I just hit this? So in order to hit this google.com, I need to play this. Okay, so I need to click start button. So what will happen, this thread group will be in action. It will read that how many threads I have to generate. So thread I am referring here, so might be I have now called this thread many times. So what exactly thread is? In term of JMeter, these users are threads. Sorry for that. If I say that I'm going to run 100 user, in term of JMeter, I will say that there are 100 threads. Okay, so thread is equal to user in term of JMeter. Basically, there is a quite few difference that I will quickly like to have. In actual, in real world, we say users. In in performance testing tools, or in tools terms, we say V users. That V stand for virtual user, because these users actually does not exist. These are virtuals, so we say that virtual users. Load runner use this terminology as a standard. If you are aware about the load runner tool, so this load runner use this V user, virtual user, which is referring to the actual user. We are saying it virtual because these are not reals. And instead of using virtual users for users, JMeter uses threads. So simple, nothing else. When I say thread, this means that in terms of JMeter it is thread, and actually these are will be acting as users. So I say that these are 100 users. I will say in my test plan there should be 100 threads. Simple. Okay, so that's the reason we have thread group, because it is a group of thread. It can generate the required number of threads, or the required number of users, or the V users, anything you refer, but JMeter refers it as thread. So I have one user, which is given as well here, number of threads. So I have one thread or one user, which is going to hit google.com. And again, I have a listener, which is going to capture the result of this element, that what happened when we hit google.com. Okay, in your case, it would be your website. For that, you are going to do performance test. All right, so let's simply run this by playing this start button, and you will get your result inside this view results tree. All right, so let's start it. And here we go. We are done with hitting google.com. I have a green um, uh, okay here. So this shows that my request and response was successful. So basically this sampler was successful, and I was able to hit google.com properly. So there are a lot of details. Sampler results. So this is thread group 1.1. When it was started, what was the load time, what was the latency? Though these are the terminologies: connect time, latency. What latency is, what connect time is. Basically you can get connect time, that how much time it has taken to connect to Google server from my JMeter client. Okay, latency is something different. We will discuss these terminologies in detail in coming sessions. Okay, so these are header size. What was the header size? What was the body size of this request? Was there any error? So sample count 1, error count 0. What was the data type? It was text. Response code was 200 and message was 200. Okay, so this is in millisecond. Okay, all these terminology, all these numbers we have, load time, connect time, and latency, are in millisecond. Okay, basically in JMeter, whatever you look basically for the timing, you will get all these things in millisecond. This is one of the other tab. I was in sampler result, and in request we have what exactly we have requested. So we have given a get method with https://www.google.com. okay, we were having no cookie, and additionally we were having no such in body as well. In header, it was automatically, some header was added by my JMeter, because I have not added any header kind of thing here. But I see that there are a few things which is by default added. One is the connection keep alive, and one is the user agent. So Apache JMeter has added the user agent, by default user agent. You can modify these behaviors as well. Am I going to have any question? Is there any question?
So Rahul, how we can define the time on this 100 users will take at most 1 second or 2 seconds? How we'll define that one, and how we can find out how much time we need to give?
Sorry, so your voice was not so clear. So what I got from your question, that how can we define that how much time a user is going to take?
Yeah, no, how much time we can give for that See, load testing is all about the performance testing, how much quickly you can get the response, right? So for this application,
Right, 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 right.
if I define for the 100 thread, how much time it should take. So where I can define and how I will know that how much second I should define that one. Are you
So
getting
for
my point?
100 thread, in how much time those 100 threads are getting active?
Yeah, and no, it's not active. In how much time it should take to get the response?
Okay, it should get. Okay, so for basically you want to ask that there are 100 users which are going to hit my application. So how much time it should take to get the response for those 100 users? Is it?
Exactly, exactly.
Okay, so we discussed this point. Probably you missed that. We should be having a SLA document which defines the service level agreement. So that defines few other things
Okay,
as well. Along with
okay,
number of users, it defines that how many time should take to get the response for those 100 users. So this that defines that as well.
okay,
Basically,
got it.
there initially there should be some criteria. Having that criteria in mind, we should initiate our performance testing. So that criteria can be different. Either that can be user specific, that can be response time specific, that can be hits per second specific, that can be CPU specific, that I need to hit as much user unless I reach 90% of CPU. It doesn't matter about response time, about hits per second. So there can be some different criteria already defined. Having that in mind, we should be proceeding our performance test, right?
Yeah, got it.
Okay, so there are a few other things like a request body we have discussed, and there is a request header. Okay, so this is what we have discussed as well, that there is a default header which is being headed by Apache JMeter, and in response data we have this lot of data. Okay, basically this is the data returned from Google server. Okay, and this is a view results tree, so that shows me this rough data, but you can change the view as well. You can get a look at the HTML view, that how it looks as a basic. Okay, all right, so we hit google.com and we have view results tree. Basically this view results tree is an listener which is used for debugging purpose, and it is not recommended to use during 100 users load or during the uh, playing your performance script with the desired load. It is not recommended because it brings a lot of data back from server. It can be overload to your JMeter. So all these things, all these um, uh, you know requirements and all those checkpoints we will be keeping in mind, and we will learn those things during our this course. So how efficiently we can use JMeter and we can perform a performance testing in a good way. Okay, so one question I have, if so, this is what I have done for now. I have a thread group which has one user which got google.com to hit, and it gets hit the google.com and brings some response back to me, where there I have this a UI representation of that response, and in raw the response looks something like this. So having this, do you have any question yet? If you have any question, please have, because I have a question to you guys. All right, so what happens if I hit google.com in my browser? I have turned these developer tool on. All right, I hit https:// okay, so in all, what happened, I have 42 requests. Okay, and that much of data returned from the server. So initially, if I look at the requests, there are 42 requests, right? But I just only hit google.com. I did not hit these 42 requests. So how this happened? Why there are a lot of requests? API.js, m dot something something get call to static and google.com document, png, gif, text plain, scripts, JavaScripts, right? PNG, lot of things. This has not happened in JMeter, right? We hit google.com and we get response for google.com only. There are no such JavaScripts or XHR calls or PNG calls. So do we have an answer on this? Anyone? Guys, any answer?
Sir, can you repeat the question?
Okay, so the question is, when we hit google.com in my browser, I get these much of requests. There are 42 requests, right? Which includes the font, XHR, scripts, documents, JavaScript, PNG, right? So including all those, we have 42 requests around, which includes JavaScripts and CSS as well. But this has not happened in case of JMeter. I hit google.com and in view results tree, I get only google.com, not those JavaScripts and CSS and images and those fonts as well. So what happened here?
Because this is taking only the HTML format.
Okay, so why this is happening? Yeah, you were right. The question was absolutely, right, that it is only getting the response of the first call, which is in my case only the first HTML of Google. I think somehow that was not captured, or probably here. Okay, so I can filter that out using document. So this contains the response of this
Yeah,
response only, right?
this one is coming. Yeah.
Yeah. So why not those responses which are available in JavaScript, PNG, and script and XHR and all these stuffs? Anyone answering this?
I guess this is the only the search parameter, matlab search results that are only showing. The remaining things, so many things are there. There is the dependency, some calls, some requests. Maybe that is not
Okay.
showing there.
All right. So good that, but any other answer? And how this browser is, getting all these calls?
This is the
How
image
this
file.
browser?
This is the
So
image.
how this browser is getting these images file and JavaScripts? I just only hit google.com. What happened that my browser is fetching these JavaScripts and CSS and images and all these stuffs? How this comes into picture? Anyone answering this will get a kudos from my side. I think this is quite simple. We do this thing every day, right? We hit any page and we get a lot of images and CSS, JavaScripts as well. Okay, so let me answer this. Not a big deal. Okay, so here we got the response, which is in terms of google.com. We got response. The same thing we are getting here as well. All right. If you compare, this would be the similar response which we are getting here, almost similar. Okay. Now, how the browser is behaving? Once the browser get the response back, it will start parsing this response. Okay, it will start parsing the response. It will get into the response and parse the things, and it will find that it has to go to other URL as well. Like it has to go to this URL and there are other URLs. So parsing that, it will get that it has to fetch different JavaScripts, and that JavaScript might be calling some different JavaScript, and there is a URL to fetch the CSS and all those steps. Basically, how browser works, it gets the response back and it start parsing that response. And in response, there are linked to JavaScript, CSS, images, and all those steps. Those are get fetched back to browser and being parsed, and you get a very friendly UI kind of thing. Okay, because your JavaScript is in action, your CSS is in action. Okay, because this is what the default behavior of any browser is. The browser get the response back, start parsing that, getting connection to the additional request, JavaScript, CSS, and then apply those JavaScripts and CSS on the pages. You start rendering and all those steps, and finally you get this option, get this beautiful page. But why this is not happening to this JMeter? Okay, you might learn from somewhere. You might having idea that JMeter is not a browser. It's not a complete browser. Do note that in your mind, that this is not a browser. We are not dealing with JMeter, and we are not treating JMeter as a browser, because it is not. And if it is not a browser, what it does not have, it has not to parse JavaScript, it has not to parse CSS, it has not to fetch the inline request and getting connection, and by default fetching those fonts and images. Okay, because it's not a proper browser, so it cannot handle JavaScript and CSS. Okay, so that's the default behavior, and that's the reason we hit google.com, we get response back. In response, we have those links, but JMeter is not intended to do those things, and it is not built for that function as well. Okay, because it is not a browser, and this is one of the important interview question as well. Might be this question can come to you in different way, that can JMeter parse JavaScript, can JMeter parse CSS? The question can be like, why we do not include JavaScript and CSS in JMeter? Okay, so these are the concept behind using JMeter. It's not a complete browser, and it will not get fetch JavaScripts and CSS, and will not behave like a browser. Okay, all right, so what I was trying to make you understand, that we can achieve number of users by hitting a sampler, hitting your website, and getting some response back. And in response, you can look at the headers available, what header was set by this server in response header. There was some cookie set as well. Okay, and there are an expire set date and cache control, content type, all those steps. And in response body, yeah, definitely we have this response, and a very basic sample result, we have this much of data back from our sampler. The similar way, in place of Google, it can be your website, where you might be hitting some different number of users and you will be getting some result. This is the tree result, which is not optimized, which is not good to read the load test result. But we have different listeners in place, which is the summary report or aggregate report, that will give you a aggregate kind of thing. Okay, if I go run for one user and 5 iteration, so I can see the behavior, what exactly summary report is showing. I can just clear this result by clicking clear button. So if I click clear, it will clear the specific result, and if I click clear all, it will clear all the results available in all listeners. Okay, now if I go run for one user and repeating it for 5 times, same action, so what will happen? One thread will come, hit google.com again, hit google.com again, go back, and it will do it for 5 times. And I will having the average of those 5 samples in summary report. View results tree will show those 5 samples individually. Just check it out. So we have 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 requests, and those their responses as well. We have those details in place. We can look into those details. Looking at the summary result, we have a label google.com which was repeated 5 times, so the sample of 5, and the average was this millisecond, minimum was this, maximum was this. There was no such error, and this is the throughput. So I talked about that, how many hits we are making to server. So this is the hit, 3.4 per second. So in a second we are making 3.4 requests to google.com. This can be achieved more by increasing number of thread. If I increase the number of thread to 2, roughly it will go double the request. It will be around 6 point something, and we got received KB, sent KB, and average bytes. So these are the data sent and received from server, and a lot of more stuffs to consider, average, median, 90, 95, 99. So there are more other terminologies to understand and learn. Okay guys, so I think this was JMeter script. Understanding virtual user transaction is something that we say that this is, if this is one of my transaction, I will say that there are 5 transactions. So we will discuss on transactions as well later, but transaction is nothing but grouping some request into a single transaction. For that we have different option as well. We have different controllers. Inside that I have a transaction controller. I can put that sampler into a transaction controller, and I can make a single transaction by having more than one request. Okay, so not to worry about that, because these things we will take in much detail in coming sessions. So we got an idea about JMeter GUI, about elements, how JMeter helps in performance testing, what is JMeter performance testing, how it is different from functional and non-functional. We discussed about what we do in performance testing, and the problem statement we have already discussed. So as for now, I think that we are done with this demo session. Now it's your time to have your question or any other queries that you have. But before that, before coming to you guys for your queries and other stuffs, I would like to share a few things to you. That this is JMeter at waytoautomation.com. This is one of the official email ID of mine, where you can send your queries later as well. Regarding this session or any other queries you have in mind regarding performance testing or JMeter tool. So this is one of the official email ID, jmeter at waytoautomation.com. And this course is going to continue from coming Saturday. So coming Saturday, 10 to 12 IST, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. IST for 2 hours. It will continue from this Saturday and will happen on each Saturday and Sunday for 2 hours. Okay. For other details, you can get back to Rahul, and you can just email on jmeter at waytoautomation.com. Okay, so this was about this session. We covered these topics. We talked about the objective of this course, and we learned few terminologies and the areas we covered regarding the performance testing and JMeter. Okay, now it's your turn to have your questions. So there is a question that how long will be this course? Yeah, so first thing, that it will happen on Saturday and Sunday from 10 to 12, 2 hours each day, and there would be around 10 to 12 classes, 10 to 12 sessions. Basically, it will take around 1 month, 4 to 6 weeks. Okay, it will take 4 to 6 weeks to complete. So there is a question that how much Java knowledge is required for JMeter. So I told you that initially to be at the intermediate level, you need not require Java knowledge, but if you have basic Java knowledge and any other language, scripting language knowledge like JavaScript or Groovy or Bin Shell, you can get the expertise level in JMeter. But to make your intermediate kind of scripts, you need not any Java knowledge because the UI is quite handy. You can add most of the elements which requires programming language in other tools, but in JMeter you can achieve those things using elements, available elements, by simply adding, removing elements in place. So there is a question that yes, definitely you will get the recording of this session. So once you enroll for this course, you will have a recording of this session which will be accessible to you for lifetime. There is no time limit. Along with that, you can have any support if required in setting of any things you got stuck somewhere during your performance testing or setting up performance kind of things. So you can get direct help from me as well. So there is a question that sample resume on JMeter will be provided. So what kind of resume you referring, like in order to such a job resume kind of thing? So I'm not sure because job kind of resume, but I can just help you guiding that what kind of um, terms we can include in your resume regarding JMeter. Basically, completing this course, you will get an intermediate kind of knowledge in JMeter. So you can, if you go through this course, thoroughly, definitely you can justify around 1 year of experience. Even I can say even more than that. If you just to have that in a practical way, you can justify at least 1 year of experience in JMeter. So it's not a big thing that you can write having a 1 year of experience in JMeter. You can justify that in your resume. So it's a question from Rahul Tandon that how many practical projects do we learn during the entire course? So basically, what I do, like I will provide you a demo application, but I think that is of no more use once you learn about scripting ideas. So that will help you, just getting and recording script on your local machine. Once you get idea on how to record your script, so the most of the thing I will try to cover. Even I try to even I cover on the the website that are live. Any public website, we take that and we start going through our example on that website. But do keep in mind that most of the things in performance testing comes under load. If I say that I have to create a scenario, I have to create a situation where there are 50 users hitting my website. Okay, so that thing would not be possible on any live or any live project. Okay, because you cannot go hit any public website with 100 or 50 users just for learning JMeter. So for that there are few different approaches that we can practice our situations, that how we can design our script, how we can play back with those scripts, simulating user behavior and simulating logic on those scripts. So there are different approaches that we follow, but most of the things which are possible to cover on live projects or live website, that we cover on those. Rahul, is it the answer to your question? Yeah. Okay. So that during our entire course, we are going to learn about most of the load concepts and load terminologies. Even in to see that in action, we need some option to generate that load to just exactly play those users, 100 users. So there should be some approach to do that. So there should be some dummy application or dummy kind of thing, or some other approach where we can just simulate that situation, right? So that should be not possible in many of the cases. Okay, so there is another question that JMeter performance can be integrated to Selenium script. Yes, it can be integrated, but JMeter performance can be integrated to Selenium script. I would say that you can use your Selenium script in JMeter, but the reverse, that you want JMeter script to be using Selenium, I have not done that. But what you can do using JMeter, you can use your Selenium knowledge. So basically, JMeter can be used to just to use as a Selenium kind of thing. You can use JMeter to play on your UI testing as well. So if you have a application and you want to validate the UI functionality using JMeter, you can do that as well. So there are options to get through plugin manager. You can add that Selenium plugin, and you can write Selenium like concept, Selenium like script in JMeter as well, and your JMeter will play, the browser will hit that elements, that the similar concept we get in Selenium. Yeah, there is another question that there is API automation. Can we use API automation in JMeter? Yes, definitely. You can use JMeter as a API, like we use Postman. Sorry. So we have Postman, right? So Postman provides us the option to hitting APIs and doing API validation. So you can do API performance testing using JMeter as well. Basically, in my project, I use JMeter. I prefer JMeter to use for API testing. Yeah, please have your question. Rahul, are you able to talk? I think you can just speak, because I see you on unmute. All right, guys. So I think you are now able to unmute yourself and have your question if any one of you have. Sorry, because I'm not getting any audio from you, Rahul. Probably check your mic setting because you are not audible.
Oh,
Yeah, it is now.
yeah, are you getting my voice?
Yes, it is now.
Yes, okay. So like I have one Selenium script for functionality, like there is one product. So that is a part of a functional testing. So if I need
Right.
to integrate the performance into that product, so can we do that? Like, can we integrate that performance into that script for performance?
See, there are two different things. One is the UI script and one is the load script. Basically, the most of the concept that we are going to cover here is the performance test, which is the server side testing, not the UI side. I'm referring this Selenium script as a UI side testing because we interact on UI side using Selenium. And the things that we are going to cover here is basically deals with the backend server. We hit direct server and we do not consider UI in picture, and we directly hitting a kind of backend thing where UI does not come. So it is not the thing that you can simulate multiple users from UI and do load testing. This is not a way, and this is not any standard of doing performance testing, because using Selenium in JMeter, even you use Selenium on using Selenium framework in any IDE, you cannot
Mm-hmm.
simulate many browser load browser as a load for any performance kind of validation, because that is too intensive, that is CPU intensive. A lot of CPU is required in that case, which is not recommended. And to answer to your question, you cannot simulate more than 2 or 3 you can say browser. Just not launch 2 or 3 browser, more than 2 or 3 browser, because your CPU and the performance of your system will get down at that point of time. So it is not any way recommended to simulate UI load for performance testing. But there is another approach to do that. What you can do, you can just simulate the load in a regular way that we are going to learn through this concept, and you can use one user UI script to capture the behavior during the load. Make sense? Rahul, I'm not getting your voice. Meanwhile, I have a question that what is the version of Java need for JMeter? You need 8, Java version 8 at least, which is available in most of the machines. Java 8 is required for JMeter. So I believe, Rahul, you got the answer of your question. Simply, you cannot use your Selenium script to generate load, but there is another approach to do that. So you can just put load on your server, and parallelly you can capture the UI behavior of the server. That will give you a simulation of having load on your server. Rather than from UI, you can do that from backend. All right, guys. So I think we are done with a lot of questions today, but still you have any question, you have time to have your questions now. Okay, so I strongly encourage you to go through this course content, because whatever is there in course content will be covered for sure, but this course is not just bounded by this course content. If you have any other questions which is beyond this course content as well, or beyond the topic of the coverage of performance testing, regular performance testing, I will help you out in that situation as well. Okay, so just go through this course content which we are going to cover throughout this session. Along with that, I will provide you a solid background on performance testing as well. Even I will give you an idea about that, how you can look into your application behavior during your performance testing. Getting into the application end, looking at the CPU and those different stuffs. All right, guys. So if you do not have any questions, we can complete this today's session for now. As I told you that I'm available on this email ID for your question, anything regarding any topic on performance or today's session. All questions are welcome. And this is going to start this. We're going to start this batch coming Saturday, which will last for 4 to 6 weeks. Okay, so thank you all for joining. Thanks for staying. And do post your question if you have any. Take care. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks,
all.
guys.